we are going to be making face masks today. First, you're going to want to print out these instructions. This is the link to the PDF, and this is a list of supplies. Then you're going to want to take these 2 pages out and cut out these 2 liners, the main fabric and lining fabric, in the medium size. You're going to want to place these onto the fabric. Now you're going to trace this lining onto the fabric by using a pen or a Sharpie. After, you're going to cut out the tracing you just made. Now you're going to flip over that cutout and trace it again, making sure it's the mirror image of the fabric piece you just cut. Now you're going to cut that piece out. You're going to want to repeat these 2 steps of tracing it, cutting it, flipping the tracer, tracing it again, and cutting it for the main fabric piece as well. So at the end, you should have 4 pieces of fabric cut out. These are what those 4 pieces should look like. This is a short sewing tutorial. At the top of your needle, you're going to see a small hole. You're going to want to take your thread and stick it through the hole. Once you've done that, you're going to keep pulling that string so your needle is double threaded. You're going to want to take a significant amount of string. After that, you can cut the string, and you're going to tie at least 3 knots at the bottom of your thread. This ensures that the thread won't go through when you make your initial stitch. It might take you a few tries, like it's taking me in this video. Now that I've finally made all my knots, I can cut the tips off so I don't see them peeking through on my mask. Be careful not to cut the knot. Now you're going to take your needle and thread it through both pieces of fabric and to keep pulling until the knot is at the end of the fabric, like so. Then, on the same side the needle came out of, you're going to want to thread the needle back through the 2 pieces of fabric, about 1/2 inch apart. Then, the fabric will probably bunch, so you'll pull it back out. And near where you made that first hole, where the knot is, you're going to thread your needle back through there. Then, where your second stitch was made, you're going to thread your needle back through there. It doesn't have to be exact, just that general spot. Now you can move on to the next stitch and make another 1/2 inch stitch further up. Now you're going to thread it back through your second stitch. And then thread it again to your third stitch. To end your stitch, take your needle and place it in between a stitch you had just made and pull it tightly to create a knot. This is shown later in the video. Now that you know how to sew, you're going to place your fabric pair pieces together so the designs are facing in and sew on the outer ridge as displayed. These are what the 2 pieces should look like once you're done. Now you're going to lay those 2 pieces on top of each other so the fabric design is facing in again. Now you are going to sew the top and bottom edges together. It should look something like this. After, you should turn the fabric inside out so the design is facing out. You're going to take your pipe cleaner piece and put it in between the 2 pieces of fabric you've now sewn together. It should be right at the top of the ridge where the hypothetical nose would go. You're going to want to make sure it's placed directly onto the seam you've just sewn. you are going to take your needle and some more thread and sew the pipe cleaner into place. Start at the side of the pipe cleaner and then move left so you are stitching below it. The stitch is different from the previous one. You will stick your needle through the fabric, bring it up and over, and stitch it through the same side, creating a spiral, as you can see. You should feel the pipe cleaner with the top of your needle as you're stitching it into place. This is what it should look like once you're done sewing the pipe cleaner into place. You can bend it, creating the ridge for the nose. Now we're going to sew the elastic into place. Once again, grab your needle and some more thread. You're going to want to place the elastic right on the seam that you've created at the top of the fabric. Now you're going to want to stick your needle through both the fabric and the elastic placed between it. Don't let go of it like I did here. Now you're going to want to just keep going back and forth, sewing the elastic into place. You can keep stitching on the same side. By the end, it should just look like a bunch of black between the two pieces of fabric. And again, this is how you tie the knot. You're going to place your needle between the stitch you've just created and pull. That creates the knot, so now you can snip the extra off. You're going to repeat that for both ends of the elastic on both sides of the mask. Now you're going to sew the sides of the masks. You're going to want to start by sticking your needle through both fabric and the elastic once again, and then doing the original stitch I taught you in the sewing tutorial. Again, make sure you're sticking the needle through both pieces of fabric. You're going to want to get as close as you can to the elastic on the second stitch. And here is the sped up version of this process. Once you finally reach the end, you're going to get as close as you can with your stitch to the elastic. Just like that. Again, we're going back to ensure that the stitch is in place and won't move. Now finally, you're going to go through both pieces of fabric and the elastic. You might have to tug just a little bit. And you're going to really fasten it onto that piece of elastic, and then finally make the knot. So you're going to place your needle in that loop that you've created, like you see above. It doesn't matter what you look like. Once you stick that needle in and pull it out, it'll be a perfect loop. And you're going to pull and make that beautiful knot. It's okay if you have a little extra piece of fabric sticking out. You can just use it for your next knot. Again, you're going to want to knot a few times to really ensure that that piece of fabric isn't going anywhere. Once you've pulled it hard to make sure it's steady, you can cut off the extra thread. It should look something like this at the end. As you can see, I have some extra fabric on the side. You can cut it off or cut it straight to make it look a little nicer if you have some excess. again, if your elastic also has a little bit sticking out, feel free to cut it. And after that, we're all done, so you can admire the beautiful mask you just made. This is what it looks like on me with a small face, and this is what it looks like on my dad, who has a slightly larger face than me. Thank you all for watching!